The most misunderstood song lyrics of all time. There are some truly misunderstood songs that the average listener can't even begin to fathom. There's much more to these tunes than meets the eye, and many have personal or hidden meanings behind their lyrics. Unfortunately, over time, people have misinterpreted them so drastically, leaving the original purpose completely lost in translation. More often than not, the public can misread and misconstrue a song to such an extent that it ends up becoming something entirely new, be it due to urban legend, misleading chords with sinister lyrics, or just plain misinterpretation. The One I Love REM. Even though the title may suggest otherwise, this final track was never intended to be a love song. The band almost didn't record it because they felt that its lyrics were too brutal and violent. Lead singer Michael Stipe remarked on how inappropriate it would have been as a romantic gesture after reading lyrics like "a simple prop to occupy my time," hardly leaving any room for misinterpretation. Alive, Pearl Jam. Pearl Jam's 1991 hit might sound like a song of resilience from the surface, especially when Eddie Vedder sings "Yeah, I'm Still Alive," but further analysis uncovers something different. This track was actually inspired by his discovery as an adolescent that his dad, he thought was truly his own father, turned out to be just a stepfather, and that unfortunately his biological father had passed away. As Vedder said to Rolling Stone, he's still confronting love and death in terms of finding solace with "I'm Still Alive." That's totally liberated from all this weight. Good Riddance, Time of Your Life, Green Day. Thanks to its use in the Seinfeld finale, Green Day's acoustic ballad became a massive hit in 1998. The track, with its seemingly sentimental words about the passing of time, has become an iconic song at proms, graduations, and weddings alike. But perhaps these joyous couples should have looked closer into the lyrics, or even just taken note of its title, as they're not indicative of a dreamy farewell, but rather an irate rebuke from someone who will one day regret leaving behind the best years that they ever had. Closing Time, Semisonic. When it comes to calling last orders, Semisonic's Closing Time is the anthem of choice around the world. But did you know that Dan Wilson wrote this track about his girlfriend's pregnancy? Although the lyrics have nothing to do with a bar or club setting, audiences immediately made their own interpretations and associated them with such places, so much so that even early on, the band could appreciate why people would make these connections. In the Air Tonight, Phil Collins. For many, this Phil Collins hit is considered as one of the most melancholic pop songs ever written. Legends say that it narrates a true story of an unfortunate event where Collins watched someone drown and didn't help him out. It was then that he resorted to writing about what he witnessed and invited the man to his show, only for them later to face each other with Collins singing directly at him in retribution. The tale of Phil Collins' In the Air Tonight has been perpetuated for years, even being referenced in Eminem's hit song Stan. Despite this, the narrative is a complete fabrication. Collins himself declared that there's no particular story behind it. Instead, he wrote it as an expression of emotion after his divorce. This didn't stop people from believing in its validity and adding to the internet legend, though. American Girl, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. Tom Petty's American Girl is a timeless classic that's been captivating fans for years. The song combines the 1960s jangling guitars with later punk and new wave influences, making it one of his most beloved tracks. It was also frequently used to end concerts right up until the very last show he ever did. Even though its status as an iconic rock hit is undisputed, there have long been misunderstandings regarding the lyrics. Some people believe that it tells a story about a girl who tragically took her own life after plunging from a residential tower at University of Florida in Gainesville, Tom Petty's hometown. Tom Petty himself flatly denied the story in a 2005 book, Conversations with Tom Petty. Urban legend, he said, it's become an enormous urban myth down in Florida. He continued to explain that the song had nothing to do with it, but was amazed by how far and widespread of misinformation had gone, even appearing across various magazine articles questioning its accuracy, which would have been quickly resolved if only they'd called him. In his book, he revealed that the true impetus for Malibu was from when he lived in California, near Leon Russell's house in Encino, where freeways, where I resided. As cars passed by, it took on a familiar sound to me. It sounded like waves crashing against shorelines of my own Malibu. Even if all these noises simply came from passing vehicles, this must have been what molded the lyricism within the song. Every Breath You Take, The Police. The Police's Every Breath You Take topped the charts in the 80s and has since been a popular first dance for countless couples at their weddings. But what many don't know is that this track tells an unnerving story of obsession and stalking. Sting himself referred to it as a very, very sinister song. And ironically enough, when told by one couple how much they loved the song for their wedding day, he replied with, "Well, good luck." No matter your interpretation of its lyrics, one thing remains certain about this classic: you just can't get away from it. Blackbird, The Beatles. For decades, Blackbird by the Beatles has been a subject of intense scrutiny. On the surface, it appears to be no more than an ordinary love song. However, Paul McCartney himself has revealed its true intent as a tribute to the civil rights movement in America during that time period. SemiCharmed Life, Third Eye Blind. Third Eye Blind's iconic 1997 hit is widely remembered for its catchy pop sound and chorus of do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Yet, beneath the upbeat melody lies a much darker story. Stephen Jenkins, lead singer and songwriter, explains that the single speaks to his experience with addiction. "It's about a time in my life when it seemed like all my friends just sort of tapped out on speed." Through his track, Jenkins captures both the crushing despair and hope inherent in dealing with substance abuse. He stated that the song's sound is deceptive, as it appears to be bright and shiny on the surface, yet quickly transitions into a lock-jawed mess. The music was composed in order to show much more than just superficial brightness. He wanted listeners to experience something far deeper. Born in the USA, Bruce Springsteen. For more than 3 decades, Bruce Springsteen's Born in the USA has been misconstrued by listeners and made many mistakenly think it was a rousing, patriotic song. But if you look beyond its upbeat melody and boisterous chorus of Born in the USA, you'll find that this anthem is actually much darker. It follows the tale of a veteran who returns home from Vietnam with psychological wounds as well as physical ones, making this an ironic ode to American patriotism rather than an aggressive one like many assumed at first glance. Springsteen was perturbed about the song being misappropriated by then-President Ronald Reagan and consequently offered numerous explanations regarding its true intent. To drive his point home even further, he performed an acoustic version of the song that highlighted its more vulnerable aspects without all the bombast. Total Eclipse of the Heart, Bonnie Tyler. The iconic power ballad, Total Eclipse of the Heart by Bonnie Tyler, was an instant success when it hit the airwaves in 1983. The song topped charts for a full year and went on to become her biggest hit single from her 5th studio album, Faster Than the Speed of Night. What most people don't know is that this amazing love song wasn't actually written as your average romance. It was originally intended to be a vampire love story. After Tyler rejected the initial 2 songs that producer Jim Steinman offered her, he went back to his books in search of a song and quickly stumbled upon one he had started writing when working on an adaptation of Nosferatu, Vampires in Love. With some careful alterations and additions, this classic love ballad was born. Listening carefully reveals the remnants of its inspiration, a story about falling in love with danger. Truly immortalized through music, it will live forever as one of the best romantic tunes ever written. Love Song, Sara Bareilles. Have you ever heard Sara Bareilles' chart-topping single, Love Song, playing in a lobby on the radio or anywhere else? It may seem like it's an ode to love at first listen, but once that chorus kicks in and shatters those expectations. Even more fascinating is the fact that this love song was never even penned for someone special. Instead of falling into typical tropes about relationships with others, it focuses entirely on self-reflection. After feeling defeated time and again by her record label's dismissal of the song she had written, Bareilles was fed up. She wrote Love Song to express that this is who she truly is, take it or leave it. Fortunately, they chose to embrace her work, and we're thankful for that incredible decision. London Calling, The Clash. Though this song has evolved to become a comment on British politics and international relations, it was initially inspired by something much simpler. In 1979, the headlines of a famous British newspaper declared that with increasing global warming, there might be an imminent risk of London being flooded due to an overflow of the Thames. The news made Mick Jones flip, and the final song ended up being less about political opinions, but more about his fear of drowning instead. Pink Houses, John Mellencamp. John Mellencamp composed Pink Houses to express his rejection of the Reaganomics and greed-driven culture in America during the early 80s. Nonetheless, due to its inspiring music and Ain't That America chorus, many people have misinterpreted it as a cheerful expression of patriotism. This has led numerous right-leaning politicians and organizations to use it for their campaigns without receiving approval from Mellencamp himself, an outspoken liberal. Higher, Creed. The anthem hit Higher by Creed has gained immense popularity since its release in 1999 and serves as the band's signature song. While it seems to be about either drugs or their publicized Christianity, according to lead singer Scott Stapp, the lyrics of this post-grunge rock classic actually depict his personal experience with lucid dreaming. Buddy Holly, Weezer. Many listeners think the lyrics of this song, You Know I'm Yours and I Know You're Mine and That's For All Time, imply it's about a romantic relationship. However, according to lead singer Rivers Cuomo, there's more than meets the eye. In fact, he reveals an entirely different story. It's about a particular girl I knew. It's about my commitment to her, my willingness to defend her. It's very platonic, not a romantic thing at all. To anyone who listens closely to the lyrics, it's evident that none of them are actually overtly romantic. People just think they are because a male artist is singing about a female, which is exactly what Weezer did in this song. Always, Bon Jovi. Bon Jovi, a band renowned for their emotionally charged anthems like I'll Be There For You and Bed of Roses, achieved one of the greatest successes in 1994 with their song Always. Yet, surprisingly, despite being known as the purveyors of epic power ballads, many listeners were oblivious to its darker thematic elements. John Bon Jovi described how some misconstrued the single's lyrics by stating that it's actually about a stalker. It has twisted lyricism. People think it's romantic, but really this person is not well. Hence, demonstrating why Bon Jovi continues to be hailed as one of music's most extraordinary acts since its inception. Mr. Tambourine Man, Bob Dylan. It's often assumed that Bob Dylan's 1965 musical masterpiece, Mr. Tambourine Man, later famously covered by the Byrds, is an autobiographical account of the singer discovering his creative inspiration through drugs. In reality, though, this iconic song is actually a tribute to Bruce Langhorne, a touring musician who took part in Dylan's band and played a large Turkish-framed drum resembling a tambourine during performances and recordings. Hotel California, The Eagles. The popular belief is that the song Hotel California speaks to purgatory, which is evidenced by the line, "This could be heaven or this could be hell." In a 2002 interview, Don Henley himself reveals its true meaning. It's basically a song about the dark underbelly of the American dream, and about excess in America, which we were all very familiar with, as middle-class kids from Midwestern states like us knew too much about greed and success in Los Angeles. That's what Hotel California was for us, our interpretation of LA's luxurious lifestyle. Waterfalls, TLC. Although many perceive TLC's 1995 song, Waterfalls, as an anthem for slowing down and enjoying life, the chorus is actually about more than that. The lyrics make clear references to social issues of the mid-90s, such as HIV and AIDS. It speaks to a deeper message of being mindful and taking caution with our lives, both emotionally and physically. Puff the Magic Dragon, Peter, Paul, and Mary. From the classic trio of Peter, Paul, and Mary comes Puff the Magic Dragon, a 1963 hit with lyrics based on a poem by Leonard Lipton, friend of band member Peter Yarrow. Despite popular belief, this melodic masterpiece does not revolve around illicit substances. It tells the story of a young boy who uses his vivid imagination to create an imaginary dragon companion called Puff, before eventually outgrowing him as he grew older. Perfect Day, Lou Reed. Lou Reed's classic tune Perfect Day, which is usually seen as an invigorating song of love, has been utilized in many light-hearted commercials for the PlayStation 4 and AT&T. Nonetheless, this track was created with a far gloomier message in mind. It speaks to the illicit euphoria resulting from taking drugs, such as heroin. Like a Virgin, Madonna. Despite the fact that Madonna's Like a Virgin is usually seen as an ode to young women experiencing sex for the first time, Billy Steinberg and Tom Kelly originally wrote it about how vulnerable Steinberg felt when entering into a new relationship. Years later, he clarified this in his interview with the LA Times. "I wasn't just trying to get that racy word virgin in a lyric, I was expressing my feelings of vulnerability at being in love again. After enduring the pain of a broken heart, I'm now embarking on something extraordinary. This new relationship is unlike anything I've ever experienced. It's so much deeper and more profound than any prior connection that's already begun to heal my wounds from my past relationships. It feels as if this bond was meant to be, as if we're in uncharted territory together. Harder to Breathe, Maroon 5. Maroon 5's iconic debut album, Songs About Jane, created waves when it was released and is essentially a concept album about one of the singer Adam Levine's former flames. You may think that its hit single, Harder to Breathe, sprung from this relationship. However, according to Levine himself, in an interview in 2002, the song came into being due to pressure from their record label. As he put it, the song comes sheerly from wanting to throw something. It was the 11th hour and our label wanted more songs. As I neared the conclusion of my recording, frustration overwhelmed me. The label's insistence had become a source of agitation. Yet in hindsight, their push was exactly what I needed to create an impressive record. Summer of '69, Bryan Adams. Bryan Adams' hit single, Summer of '69, is such a powerful burst of nostalgia to the ear that one could assume he wrote it about his own teenage years in 1969. However, what many people don't know is that Bryan was only 9 during this time. While there are some nods to real events that happened in their lives, the 69 number was actually intended as an allusion to an intercourse-related position. Quite shocking for a song considered so innocent nowadays. Smells Like Teen Spirit, Nirvana. The iconic Nirvana track, Smells Like Teen Spirit, has been celebrated as a timeless classic ever since its release in 1991. Even Kurt Cobain himself was unsure of the real meaning behind it, despite being credited with writing the song. The title originated from an acquaintance who scrawled "Kurt smells like Teen Spirit" on his wall, without realizing that Teen Spirit was actually a deodorant brand. Ignorance aside, Cobain used the phrase to create what he described as the ultimate pop song. Michael Azerrad's Nirvana biography, Come As You Are, The Story of Nirvana, recounts Cobain saying he wanted to illustrate his thoughts on the people in his life and generation, yet then contradicted himself by claiming that Smells Like Teen Spirit was merely a joke. Dave Grohl, now the frontman of the Foo Fighters, has made it clear that there is no real significance behind the words. Paper Planes, MIA. While people associate MIA's hit song, Paper Planes, with drug dealers, the artist herself explained that it was actually about her experience as an immigrant in the United States while living in Bed-Stuy and coming to terms with how those around you perceive immigrants, especially when someone might say something like, "What I want to do is come and get your money." The single paints a vivid picture of life for many immigrants striving to make a better future for themselves by any means necessary. People often regard immigrants and refugees as a drain on society, but in my song I'm showing that they can contribute to culture, even if it's only through the sound of gun shooting and reloading, followed by the opening of a cash register. America may be obsessed with money, but we need to start seeing past stereotypes so everyone gets their fair shot at making something out of themselves. Ticket to Ride, The Beatles. The Beatles' classic hit, Ticket to Ride, is commonly believed to be about a young woman taking the train for an excursion with her beloved. Nevertheless, John Lennon provided another interpretation of the song's meaning. It was actually in reference to cards issued by German prostitutes during the 1960s as proof that they were healthy and certified. Prior to their global recognition, the Beatles had numerous performances at clubs in Hamburg, Germany, providing them exposure into this culture firsthand. Slide, Goo Goo Dolls. When the Goo Goo Dolls released Slide as their first single from Dizzy Up the Girl in 1998, it became a defining moment for them. On the surface, this upbeat tune tells an age-old story about young lovers standing up to anything that stands against them. However, according to Johnny Resnick on VH1 Storytellers, there's much more depth to it than meets the eye. He reveals that the song is actually about these two teenage kids, and when the girlfriend gets pregnant, they must face life together head-on, struggling to determine whether the best course of action is an abortion, marriage, or something else entirely. They're caught in a quandary. 1. U2. When U2 released One in 1991, the song quickly became one of their most renowned hits ever. Although it's often thought to be an anthem for togetherness and harmony between friends, family, or lovers, this gem is actually written during a time when the band struggled with fragmentation and uncertainty about its future. Bono himself admitted in his words from the book U2 by U2, the difficult birth of One had resulted in lyrics that spoke of melancholy. confirming how deep-seated feelings with each member at that moment shaped what later would come to be recognized as a timeless classic. There were melancholy about it, but there was also strength. One is not about oneness, it's about difference. It's not the old hippie idea of let's all live together. It's a much more punk rock concept. It's anti-romantic. We are one, but not the same. We get to carry each other. It's a reminder that we have no choice. I'm still disappointed when people hear the chorus line as got to rather than get to carry each other. Like it or not, the only way out of here is if I give you a leg up the wall and you pull me after you. There's something very unromantic about that. Song's a bit twisted, which is why I could never figure out why people wanted it at their weddings. I've certainly met 100 people who've had it at their weddings. I tell them, are you mad? It's a song about splitting up. American Woman, the Guess Who. For those of us more familiar with Lenny Kravitz's 1999 cover, American Woman, tends to be a song about sexiness. But as Randy Bachman, the co-writer, explains it, the tune carries much greater depth than that. It revolves around the conflicts in Vietnam and U.S. politics during the late 60s era, when he was on tour throughout America. The story goes back to the border between Canada and North Dakota, where authorities attempted drafting them for service in Vietnam despite being Canadian citizens who had gone there for safety purposes away from war zones. Co-writer Burton Cummings added, "When I said American woman, stay away from me, what I truly meant to say was, I favor you, Canadian woman." It all happened in an unexpected way. Just Like Heaven, The Cure. Beloved by fans across the globe, The Cure's hit song, Just Like Heaven, paints a seemingly straightforward love story. However, according to lead singer Robert Smith, there's more depth beneath its surface. Describing the meaning as hyperventilating, kissing, and fainting to the floor, he revealed that certain lyrics are drawn from his memories of honing magic tricks in childhood. Yet, on another level, they represent a seduction technique much later in life.